Chapter 72.
You are now listening to the Chapter of the Architect with DJ Architect.
What's going on, my people? Once again, this is your homeboy, DJ Architect. I want to welcome you guys to Chapter 72 of the Chapter of the Architect, the podcast, of course. Once again, I want to welcome my returning guest host, my homeboy from LI, DJ Don Q, in the place to be. How you doing, DJ Don Q?
Man, I've been looking forward to this podcast forever and ever and ever.
Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. We have a very special guest for you guys today. She is the Queen of Freestyle, with hits such as Come Into My Arms, I Love You, Will You Love Me, and No Reason to Cry. And that's just to name a few, ladies and gentlemen. She is an actor, a radio personality, an extraordinary life coach. It is our great pleasure to introduce the talented Judy Torres. Judy, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you. That was a beautiful introduction. And man, I'm number 72. That's so cool. 72 is good. 72 is good.
It's a good number. It's a good number. It's your number. It's your chapter. It's a good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Judy, once again, thank you so much for your time. And how are you and your loved ones doing with the crazy stuff that's going on right now in the world? How are you guys doing?
Well, we have our health and we're safe. And so I would say that makes us very blessed. But like everybody else, it's been a truly challenging time. And it has forced people to call forth a strength that they didn't know they had,
Big time.
This is true. Judy, you still out in New York?
I'm in central New Jersey.
Oh, okay. You're in New Jersey now. Okay. Judy, so tell us about your childhood, or where you grew up. You're from the Boogie Down Bronx, right?
I was born and raised in the Boogie Down Bronx. I was born in Fordham Hospital, which is now a parking lot in Fordham University.
Oh, wow.
And lived with my mom and father until I was 7. And then my mom left my father and moved over to the Boogie Down Bronx. We lived on 182nd and Katona Parkway. At the time, it was just me and my mom and my brother Pete, who was 2 years younger than me. I'm the oldest. And, life was tough. Life was interesting. We were financially challenged. My mom had to go on financial assistance so that we could make it. Mm-hmm. And I think that, it was an interesting childhood because it was literally the worst and the best of times, because I felt like I had home, I had friends. We played stickball and kicked the can, and mm-hmm. we roller skated, and there were block parties and things like that, So I really didn't know in my mind that we were poor until I got older. Then I started to have friends who had more, and then I was like, okay, wow.
Wow.
And then I loved school. I was kind of a geek. I was a nerd, and I loved school because home life was tough. My mom, to her credit, she's a great mom. She always encouraged everything that I wanted to do. Any little thing that I said, Mom, I want to do, she said, go for it. Unfortunately, a couple of years after we moved to the Bronx, my mom met my stepfather, may he rest in peace. And unfortunately, he had a major drinking problem, and he was very abusive to my mom. Oh. So both my father and my stepfather were abusive to my mom. So it was rough. And so I grew up learning a lot of things that were not true. I called them, false life lessons. So the false life lessons were, for example, what happens at home stays at home, And I learned also that if I did good in school, my stepfather was very happy and very excited and very proud, and he tended to be sweeter. So I thought in my mind, I made this decision that, okay, in order for things to be good at home, I have to be extra good.
Wow.
And that puts unnecessary pressure on a kid. But I did that to
Absolutely.
myself. But I didn't know that, because when you're a child, most children will find a way to make everything their fault, unfortunately, and until someone tells them different, they don't know. So, but it was great. I mean, I had sleepovers. It was where I decided to become a singer. I had this big revelation when I was taking a bath that I was going to be a singer, and I came on, "Hey Mom, guess what? I'm going to be a singer." And she was like, "Okay, go for it," And I was like, "For real?" She's like, "Yeah." "You sure?" "Yeah, go for it." "Okay," And I was just literally obsessed with being a singer. So I joined the choir, and I wrote my first.
I'm sorry, I
What?
didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
But was it a specific individual that inspired you to want to sing? A specific artist?
Yeah, it was Judy Garland.
Oh wow!
Believe it or not. Yeah, when I did my one woman show, No Reason to Cry, I talk about it. I do this whole big scene about it because I never understood that Wizard of Oz was filmed in advance. So every year, they would always give Wizard of Oz on television. So every year my mom would call me over to the TV and I'd be so excited. And I thought it was live every single year. And so I'm watching Judy Garland sing, and I'm just mesmerized by her when she's singing Over the Rainbow. And I just thought she was so beautiful. And I was like, wow. I said, "Mom, what's her name?" And she said, "Oh, Dorothy." I'm like, "Yeah, what's her real name?" She's like, "Oh, that's Judy Garland." And I was like, "Shut up.
Wow.
Her name is Judy? Her name is Judy and my name is Judy?" And I was like, Mom, listen, when I grow up, I'm going to become a singer and I'm going to sing with Judy because her name is Judy and my name is Judy. And my mom was like, "Hi, Mommy, I have to tell you this. I don't know how I'm going to say this to you, but Judy Garland is dead." And I was like, "What?"
Oh, no.
And I was devastated. I cried. Let me tell you, I was such a sensitive child. I'm still sensitive. But I was such a sensitive child. I cried all night. I cried myself to sleep.
Oh.
And the next day I was devastated. I was just heartbroken in my mind. I'm like, I'm never going to sing with Judy Garland. Never.
Oh.
And I started to, I guess to soothe myself, I decided that because she was dead, she must be a guardian angel. She must be like a saint.
Right.
So I started to pray to her. I used to call her Saint Judy, and I used to ask her to help me get a voice so that I could be a singer when I grew up,
Wow.
And so one of the really touching things was that when I had the one woman show, my best friend, who was also the producer of the show, he and my other best friend, they dressed up my dressing room, and inside they put a big picture of Judy Garland, and I was bawling like a baby.
Inspiration,
And so,
yeah.
So every time I went to go on stage for the one woman show, I would look at her picture and I would kind of think, what would Judy do? How would she feel right now? What would she be thinking at this moment?
Wow.
And even though she had a really tragic life, I learned that when I got older, but I still, something about her passion resonates with me, and I still adore her.
I think Architect was already in out in California at this time, but Judy's one woman show. She comes out with this woman show on Broadway, and it's like, I think it was like 2 shows she came out with. Mm-hmm. I attempted to buy tickets. I could not get tickets. And then I think you came out with a 3rd show?
Well, it was supposed to be, I was 49 at the time, and I had decided that I was going to write this one woman show so that when I turned 50, I could just do something amazing, something that was really terrifying, something outside the box, but something that I would feel fulfilled. And so the plan was we were just going to do it for one weekend. And so the day we released the sales for tickets, it sold out in like 45 minutes.
I couldn't get tickets at all. I know. It was so disappointing.
And I said, no way. And then the producer called me. He said, he gave me the link. He's like, look on the website. He's like, look. There's 2 seats left. Oh my God, we're sold out. Oh my God. Well, Saturday. He said, no, we're sold out. We're sold out Saturday. Oh my God. I was jumping up and down. I was losing my mind. And then about an hour later, they called me back and they said, the theater wants you to add Sunday. You have to add Sunday. They need a Sunday matinee because people are angry that they can't get tickets.
Yeah.
So, oh my God. Okay. So we added Sunday. So that turned into another weekend, which ultimately turned into almost 4 months.
Wow.
And the only reason we had to stop was because the theater had already committed to other shows by then. But
do you plan to do it in another theater, you think, or would you?
We were going to do it in the Bronx in June, ironically, this past June. We were going to, this June, we were going to do it the first weekend of June. So this would have been the weekend.
But COVID held that off on you.
Yeah, it was going to be a whole give back to the Bronx thing. I wasn't going to charge for. It was going to be a one weekend only, and I wasn't going to charge for tickets. I just wanted to do something to give back to the Bronx. So, and we were also searching for a theater to do it in New York City again. So most likely we'll do it again. I just don't know when right now.
Hey, Judy, give us a heads up, because that's something that I'll fly out from San Diego to New York, and me and DJ Don Q, we can roll up and grab some of the other DJ fellas and check it out.
Oh yeah, I wanted to go with my wife. Yeah, I wasn't able to get.
It was literally like the most memorable, the best thing I had ever done in my career. It really was.
I was so pissed off to see people on social media, like in your theater with the, Judy. I'm here to see Judy, taking pictures outside. I was like, damn, they got tickets, man. God.
Yeah, it was phenomenal, and the support that we had from the people was literally, it was humbling and mind-blowing. I couldn't believe that we sold out like that. And every night was magical. Every night was different because, you always have the beauty of theater is that it's live. So every night you have a different audience and people react to different things. So there were times when I didn't think they were going to laugh at something and they cracked up. And then other times I was waiting for the laugh. I'm like, I guess I'm not funny tonight. I don't know what happened, But we had a really great time, and people laughed and they cried, and it was awesome. So I can't wait to do it again.
When you do a show like that, I mean, does Judy Torres realize the impact that she has had on many, not only Latino lives, but Bronx people, but musical people? Do you realize the impact that your music has had, or do you still feel like kind of humbled and you don't? But as DJs, your music has been, tops, and we're going to do a freestyle set or freestyle, you're going to be number one, on my list that I'm going to drop, So, do you realize the impact that you've had on the music industry and the people?
Yes and no. Like when people come up to you and they tell you the stories, that's the beauty of music, is that when we hear a song, it connects us to a memory. It instantly takes us someplace. And it usually is attached to some really great feeling or really sad feeling. And so when people come up to me and they tell me, for example, what the song No Reason to Cry has done for them or for their lives or for their partner, when they've asked me to sing it at someone's funeral or their wake, or, it's very touching because it's what I hope the song would do.
Yeah.
But, let me tell you something. Having that as a title of a song that you sang, No Reason to Cry, it's like you have to walk around. It's like a big responsibility. You have to walk around proving to people that there's no reason to cry. It's like, even when I'm crying, I'll be like, I'm so sad. My husband will be like, honey, there's no reason to cry. I'm like, shut up.
It's crazy. Oh, man.
Please talk to us about your recording and experiences for both of these songs. To me, these two songs, they bring back so many good memories for me, and it was such a great time for freestyle. And I'm talking about No Reason to Cry, of course, and Come Into My Arms. I remember learning how to DJ from my cohorts, one of them being on the other side of this line right now, and another guy being DJ Slam in his basement, and him loving to play. He would have two vinyls, and he would be playing No Reason to Cry on one, and the other one he'd be scratching with, and he'd be like, no. This guy was amazing. But those experiences, they mean a lot to me, and I'm sure they mean a lot to a lot of your devoted fan base. But talk to us about the recording of those specific songs.
Well, it's funny, and not to talk about the One Woman Show again, but I talk about it in the One Woman Show too, because it was, it was the beginning of everything happening. No Reason to Cry. Initially, I met George Vascones, who was my first manager. May he rest in peace. And he discovered me at a gong show. And I sang bad on purpose because all the other singers were great. I'm like, why do you have a gong show? Nobody's going to get gonged. Oh, wow. And so I sang bad on purpose. And he went to gong me, and the other judges stopped him. But after the show, he came up to me and he said to me, I want to help manage you. And I said, well, that will be great, but I don't have any money. because I didn't, I was like, I have no money to give anybody to help me. And he said, that's okay. And I said, and I don't know anything about the music business. He's like, that's okay. I don't know anything about the music business either, but I want to help you. And I thought at first, well, you always imagine that things are going to happen like the movies, and this is like important for anybody out there who wants to become a singer, an artist of any kind, that it's not always going to happen the way you anticipate life to happen. So you just have to be prepared. So when the moment comes, you're ready. And, he told me, I'll make a deal with you. Give me 6 months. Work with me for 6 months. I'll get you gigs in clubs and things like that. If I don't get you a paid gig in 6 months, you can walk away. But if I do get you a paid gig, I get 20%. I said, deal. And so he got me these gigs in different places, and I was singing Whitney Houston covers because I didn't have any music or anything. And, I was doing it for free. I just wanted to get my name out there, get exposure, that kind of thing. And then finally he came up to me, he's like, you're not going to make it unless you have, something that's original. And I said, well, duh, that's why I'm working with you, because I need help, And he's like, I have a friend named Mickey Garcia who's looking for a singer.
Oh my
He's like, but you have to audition for him. I said, okay. So I auditioned for Mickey Garcia in George's house. And Mickey's like, great, I'm going to give you this song. So he gave me this song called Love's Gonna Get You. And I'm like, cool. So he was working with 2 other singers. He was working with C-Bank, and he was working with a girl named Vicki Ryan. So the night before we were all going to record, we went to George's house to celebrate, and we were having dinner, and we were listening to each other's songs. And we were listening to the demos, And I heard the song, and I was like, oh my God. I went up to Vicki. I was like, Vicki, that song is beautiful. That gives me chills. That song gives me chills. It sounds like it's hopeful. It's, she's like, well, I don't really like my song. I like your song. I was like, really? Well, I don't really like my song. So we went to Mickey and we asked Mickey if we could switch. And Mickey said yes. So she got Love's Gonna Get You, and I got No Reason to Cry.
Wow.
Man, that's like lottery.
That's not the first
how that
time.
happened.
That's not the first time we heard that story, DJ Don Q, where artists aren't happy with their song and they just switch it and it becomes a huge hit.
It becomes a hit, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, that. So then here I am. I'm like, okay, I'm 17. I'm in the Bronx, and I'm finally going to record. And you always have this. When you think of a studio, you think of these beautiful, long, big soundboards, and you think of parquet floors and like floor to ceiling glass, and then the microphone that comes down from the ceiling, like the kind Mariah Carey holds in her hand. That's how I envisioned it.
Majestic.
So Mickey picks me up and he's like, "We're going to the studio. You ready?" And my heart is pounding. I got butterflies. I'm like, "Yes, let's go!" I'm so excited, And then we go to 173rd and Topping Avenue in the Bronx, which is like the ghetto, right? So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, where are we going? He goes, oh, we're going to go to Elvin's. I'm like, oh, okay. So I thought we're picking up Elvin. Elvin Molina was his partner. So he opens the door. He's like, come on and come in. And his mother's there. She's like, take off your coat. And I'm like thinking, I don't have time for this. We got to go to the studio, know?
Right.
And Mickey's like, go ahead, go walk to the back. I'm like, what's in the back? And I see this bedroom. And I'm like, what? I'm like, man. Oh, no. I heard of this stuff before, that people try to sleep with you so you can make it to that ain't me. No. And Mickey's like, go ahead, what's the matter with you? Go ahead, Elvin's back. I'm like, no, I can't. He's like, and I look and I see a mic stand and I see a microphone. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, so where's the studio? He's like, it's here. I'm like, here?
Yeah.
But I
right
thought,
now, here?
I thought, oh, well, what am I going to say? This isn't what I imagined.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. And this is how pure and innocent and new freestyle was, that we were recording it in his apartment bedroom. And the sound was so sensitive that anytime someone flushed the toilet or Mr. Softy came by, we had to stop and start all over again.
Oh my God.
I don't even know how many times I sang No Reason to Cry.
Judy, was he recording? I'm sorry, DJ Don Q, but was he recording on reel to reel at that time?
Yes.
That's why.
Reel to reel at that time.
That's why.
Yep. It was real surreal at the time. Everything was really sensitive. It was just, but it was a great experience. I mean, I remember getting the first 12-inch and listening to it. And I was like, why is the song so long? I wasn't familiar with the whole freestyle genre and stuff. And as a matter of fact, it didn't even have a name at the time. So I couldn't understand, why are there so many different versions of the same song? And why is it so long? And, so it was hilarious when I first started performing No Reason to Cry. The version was 9 minutes and 49 seconds. And I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do for 10 minutes on stage? That's
a DJ's, it's like a DJ's Sunday ice cream. Yeah, it's like, that's what we
well,
love,
at the time, but, I didn't know,
Absolutely.
I didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, I was a theater kid. I was because of Judy Garland and everything. And my mom, she listened to West Side Story. I watched West Side Story all the time. So I was obsessed with theater. And so when I was in school, high school, college, I did musical theater all the time. So my intention was never to do freestyle, but I wanted to get into the music business so bad. I had imagined myself being more like a ballad singer, like a Whitney Houston,
Right.
And so, but I also felt like I have to get my foot in the door. So whatever comes, you take it. And so that's what came. If someone had come with a country hat on and said, Judy, we want you to sing some country music, I would have said, fine, no problem. I'm a Puerto Rican who can sing some country. I would have done whatever it took to get my foot in the door. And that's what happened.
Judy, let me ask you a question. That the oohs and ahs in the beginning of No Reason to Cry. Ooh, and then you say, like, there's no reason. Was that all you, or was that something that...
No, that's me.
That's you.
No,
I was going to say.
Let me tell you what's funny. It's not really a ooh, it's actually a hum.
Oh, so you were hum.
It's not ooh. But to me, as I started to perform it more and more, I was like, people are not going to hum. They're going to sing ooh. So I changed it to ooh. But if you listen to it really well, I'm humming it. And then I had told Mickey, because the intro was so long, I said to him, hey, how about we put a speaking part here? You know why? It could be really good. He goes, like what? I was like, it'll be sexy. Make something sexy. He's like what? And I'm going, there's no reason for you to cry, my love. I was only 17. I didn't know how to be sexy.
Oh, man. But your voice is very mature.
But I listened to it. I think it's hilarious.
You were 17 when you recorded that, Judy?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think about it, and I'm like, how? I mean, I listened to, this was before auto-tunes and all those different programs could fix your voice. So what happened. What came out. And, there were times when someone would say, you're flat, do it again, or this. And or you just knew it. You open your mouth, like, yeah, no, stop. Let me do that again, But there are times and there are moments that I feel like it was a little bit flat. Like Love You Will Love Me, there's a section that is so, it's slightly flat, but because my ear, I can hear it. It's like I can't say I have perfect pitch because I can't listen to a song and tell you what key it's in, but I can sing back a song to you in the key that it is in without thinking about it. My brain memorizes where it is. And so I hear Love You, You Love Me. And when I perform it, I'm like, oh God. And I hear the song. I'm like, why did they let me get away with that? Why didn't they stop me? And you guys still listen to it. And it's like you listen to it like it's gold. And I'm like, why?
Hey, Judy, but don't you think those small imperfections are like their original qualities that make the song what it is? Like those small.
Well, now, yeah. Right, when you listen to it, it shows the innocence. It shows how it was the beginning of it.
Right.
And, it had its own unique sound. What can we say?
I agree.
But I didn't know it was going to be freestyle. I mean, I remember when I lived in the Bronx and I was still living with my mom and I was in high school. My mom had finally left my stepfather, and she was good friends with the super's wife. Her name was Vivian. Of course, any good friend of your mom is a titi. So I went down to Titi Vivian's house, and Titi Vivian said, I got a record for you. Take this to your house, listen to it, tell me what you think. And I used to love the music she listened to. So I ran upstairs and she said, it's new music, so you never heard this before. I'm like, okay. And I put the needle on the record and I hear sweet, sweet love. And I'm like, oh, who's that? dark empty night. I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't
Please don't
wait.
go, Niobe.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
of course.
that was like, who is that, you know? And I remember having my Sony Walkman, walking to the pizzeria, listening to Show Me. And
Yes.
when I hear music, it makes
Debbie
me dance,
Deb,
you know?
Deb, yes.
And I remember I had after I graduated from high school, I had a job as a cashier in a drugstore. And every time I heard "Can You Feel the Beat," I used to run into the aisle with the broom and I would perform. And I almost got fired because my boss was like, "Get back to work, get back get back behind the counter and do your freaking job," you know? And then finally, you know, one day I used to do it all the time. And then the staff started to love it. So whenever they heard the song, they'd be like, "Judy, your song," you know? So one day the song came on, and before I could go into the aisle, my boss was staring me down. And I'm looking at him like, he's like, go ahead, just do it. Just get it over with. Go ahead. I ran and go, yeah, you know. So I had no idea it was freestyle. And I had no idea. And the blessing that the thing that still blows me away to this day is to be able to say I perform with the people I listen to. Shannon, Cover Girls,
so cool.
Lisa, Sugar Hill Gang. It's like, it blows my mind. You know, it's
surreal, kind of surreal.
It is very 360. It's like, you know,
Judy, when you were recording these first songs, I mean, obviously you knew that they were going to be, these are freestyle songs, right? That you were getting ready to record.
I didn't know.
You didn't know at the time?
Yeah, but I didn't know they were freestyle. They didn't call it freestyle.
It was like dance. It was more like a crossover of disco it was kind of like
to me it was an evolutionized disco. But you know, it didn't bother me. I didn't know that it had a name. And then when the songs were on the radio and they really started to blow up and some of the songs started crossing over into top 40, then I'll never forget, I think it was a cover of Billboard that said, "What is this new Latin hip hop?" So they called it Latin hip hop first.
Right.
And then they called it Latin freestyle. And then they just called it freestyle.
What?
Judy, was there ever a point that, you know, because this was going on, it was sort of a Latin scene. Did they ever tell you not to use Torres as your last name?
Absolutely.
They did, right? I'm so happy you kept it.
The very, very beginning, they said to me, I remember George said, "Okay, so what's your name going to be?" And I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "Well, you know, every artist, even actors, you know, they change your name so that it could be cool, you know, so it could be, you know." And I was like, "No, I'm going to keep my name." And at first I tried, you know, because I had friends that called me Juju. And I was like, no, I don't want people calling me Juju because only people who are close to me call me Juju. And then I was like, maybe something that sounds French, like Jeju. Yeah, no, that sounds stupid. And I was like, I was like, you know what? No, I wanted to be Judy Torres because when I was in high school, I got bullied pretty bad. And I just felt like I want them to know that I made it. I want them to hear my name over and over.
Oh, that's great. I'm so happy.
But it came with a price because I can't prove it, but you know, through the grapevine, you hear things, and there was just this understanding that if you let people know you were Hispanic, your chances of crossing over into pop were very low. And I never did cross over. And you know, you had, you know, and I'm not saying that my music was worthy of crossing over. I have no idea. I feel like when people love music, it'll cross over no matter what.
That's right.
But you know, you had Cover Girls crossed over, Noel crossed over, George Lamont crossed over, Expose. So it was very Sapphire. It was these very kind of ethnic androgynous names, you know. But Lizette Melendez crossed over too.
That's
true. You know,
goody.
So so she did great too. So, but back then, I remember when we were going to record the first album, I remember saying to Mickey, you know what we should do? We should do a piece of it in Spanish. He said, no. If you do that, you'll never get on the radio. And now you hear a song like Despacito completely in Spanish.
Right.
That is so pop, you know, so I'm happy that it happened finally. It's okay with me that it wasn't me. I'm just happy it happened, you know?
I agree. Judy, in the middle of freestyle blossoming and you realizing, wow, I'm part of this new movement and it's hitting, it's banging, songs are coming up the charts. What was your What were you thinking at that moment of realization when you knew you were part of a big movement, something beautiful? What came through your mind at that moment?
I knew it was special. I mean, I felt it was special because just to get your song on the radio is like the most exhilarating thing you can ever experience as a person, especially if you want to be a singer. It's everything that you see in the movies when people freak out and they start screaming. That's exactly what it's like. You scream so your throat is raw. You have no voice. You're calling everybody you can in 3 minutes to let them know, put on the radio. It's on. But I knew it was really big when we had done the Puerto Rican Day Parade, and we were on the Hot 103 float, and in New York City, and so many people were, instead of just watching the float go by, people joined the float.
Wow.
They just started walking with the float.
With the float, yes.
And it got so bad, it got so packed that the float couldn't move. And wow. I just remember the people jumping up and down, and the police had to come and escort us because we couldn't move.
Wow.
It was amazing. And I just knew then it was something that was very special, something that was unique, that had never happened in music history as far as Latinos were concerned.
Judy, I listen to your music all the time, and I as a 17-year-old singer, I really admire your vocal control and your breathing and your tone, and especially your vibrato that you have. I'm shocked to learn now that how young you were at the time. Did you take any vocal lessons, or did you have any vocal lessons in your young life?
I didn't have. I wanted voice lessons when I was a kid. I begged my mom, and I had found a teacher who was only $10 an hour. And I told my mom was like, $10 that I don't have. Sorry. I just don't have it. And I was devastated. And so I decided, okay, I was very imaginative. I used to rent the records from Evita, West Side Story, and Chorus Line. And I would put the records on, and I would make believe I knew what the musical was about. And I would just go around in my bedroom playing all the different characters. I had a real big imagination. And so, oh, wow, I just forgot what we were talking about. I'm 52 now. Hold on.
You were renting the records and you would bounce around your room. And
No. What my point was, what was your question again?
Oh, the vocal coaching, the $10,000 an hour.
So I had made the decision, okay, I'm going to have to make believe I'm hiring my own voice teachers. So I listened to Barbara Streisand like crazy, Donna Summer, France Jolie. And I told myself, and the lead singer of Styx, Dennis DeYoung. It was a rock group. And I told myself, all these people are your voice teachers, Judy. And I learned vibrato from Dennis DeYoung. Wow. And I didn't get my first voice lesson until I was 23.
Wow.
When I was in college. And I was, the college that I went to, everyone was either studying jazz or studying classical. So I was forced to learn opera.
Oh, wow.
But when I went, those early years, it was all just pure determination and a lot of prayer to Judy Garland, a lot.
So did you ever listen? Did you ever, like, we've interviewed Brenda, Lizette, Seabank. We just did Chrissy. Did they all listen for some reason? Stacey Lattisaw.
Of course I listened to Stacey Lattisaw. I used to cry and I used to tell my mother, if she could be a singer, why can't I be a singer? It's not fair. My mother's like, Mommy, you're young, but she's young too much. You don't understand. It was like, I wanted to be a singer. Like, when I think about it, I'm like, wow, I was a nut. I was obsessed. Like, if I was going to die if I didn't become a singer. That's how I was living my life. As soon as I got out of high school, I started hitting the streets. I started going to different clubs. I started going to lounges, anything that had a showcase, a talent show, anything of that kind, because there was no internet. There was no social media. There was no YouTube, nothing at the time.
That's right.
You wanted someone to find you. You had to go out there and make them hear you.
Look for the flyers on the telephone pole. And
exactly.
What's going on?
That's exactly what I did. And I walked because a lot of times I didn't have the money for the bus or the taxi, so I walked a lot of the time. And when I think about it, I was crazy because I was doing that by myself. And I was young and I was coming home by myself. I wasn't going with friends or anything. I was alone.
It's determination. You know, you're
I
determined
was truly
too. So
determined.
You're
Truly determined. I literally treated it like if I don't make it, I'm going to die. And that's what it felt like. It felt like that. It still does.
Architect, I gotta ask.
Sure.
I gotta ask Judy this question, Architect, because it's something I've always wanted to know. Do you have a favorite song of your own?
You took the words out of my mouth. Where's your crystal ball?
Oh, well, I have two. It's a tie. No, maybe Come Into My Arms first. I don't know. So it's basically Come Into My Arms and Faithfully.
And Faithfully, okay.
Come Into My Arms because I had, Mickey had given me the song to listen to. It wasn't my song. He told me, Judy, I'm working with a new singer. I want you to listen to this song. I think it's a hit. It's not finished yet. So he plays it for me. He's singing on the demo. And I heard the chorus and I was like, oh my God, Mickey, you got to give me that song. He's like, it's not finished yet, Judy. I said, that's all right. I'll finish it. I'll write it. Let me write it. I can write it. He's like, Judy, but it's for a new singer I'm working with. I said, listen, please listen. I know it's my song. I could feel it. I could hear it in my head. I know exactly how I'm going to sing it. He's like, look, all right, I'll make a deal with you because I wouldn't stop. He's like, I'll make a deal with you. Finish writing it. You sing it for me. If I like the way you sing it, then you can have it. Okay? I said, okay, fine. So I did. I wrote the third verse. And then I told him the whole, let's do The Other Night When We Kissed. And I made that up too. And he's like, okay, fine. So then I sing it for him. He's like, okay, it's yours. The song was supposed to be Cynthia's.
Oh, wow. Never knew that.
And Cynthia and I talked about it, and she's fine with it. So I just want everybody to know. I didn't know her at the time. You had permission. I didn't know her at the time, and I didn't know who she was. And she got plenty of hits. She got Change on Me. She got Endless Nights.
Absolutely.
She got Love Me Tonight. And then come on, she got Thief of Hearts. Then she got Dream Boy, Dream Girl.
Oh my goodness, Johnny O.
Karma, okay?
Yeah.
Karma. Because I hear Dream Boy, I was like, I wish that was my son. But, so Come Into My Arms because of that, because it was the first time that I wrote something that actually got on the radio, and it felt stronger than No Reason to Cry, and I love singing it. It just feels real because it's based on something that happened to me. And then Faithfully because I hadn't had a song on the radio in 16 years.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
When I had the idea to do Faithfully, I called up Corey Robbins. He was from Robbins Entertainment, and he was also owner of Profile Records. So he signed me twice. And so I went to him. I said, Corey, what about, we were trying to think of a new song. I said, what about Faithfully? He's like, what do you mean Faithfully? I said, Journey's Faithfully. He's like, really? It's like, yeah, we'll do it like a dance song, okay? Not a freestyle song, a dance song. Because I could hear the people singing at the end. Whoa. He's like, no, absolutely not. That's horrible. That's a horrible idea. Why? So then I was stalking Valentin, who was the producer on the song at the time. And every time I came up with some idea with Valentin, he was like, no. And he was kind of blowing me off a little bit. I could feel it. I was like, oh God. I said, Valentin, what about Faithfully? It's like, Journey? Yes. No, absolutely not. I'm like, come on. Why can't anybody hear it? Like I could hear it, So a few days later, he calls me up and he says, I believe in signs. And I'm like, okay. He goes, ever since you brought it up, I heard Faithfully 4 times. I heard it in the gym. Man. I heard it in the supermarket. Wow. I heard it in the car. Let's do it. And I said, well, the label already told me no. You know what? I think we could do it so well that I think we can get it signed. Let's do it on spec, which basically means he's trusting me that we're going to be okay. So I record it. It wasn't finished yet. I work at KTU. I bring it to the program director. And I say, can you do me a favor, Jeff? Can you listen to this song? He's like, okay, sure. So he's putting it in the computer. He's listening to it, but he's not listening to it. It's like it's playing, but he's typing on his computer. And I'm like sitting there like, man, come on. Like, stop typing. Listen to the song. I was really angry. And that's why when people send me music, I take a long time to listen to it because I want to make sure when I listen to it, I hear the whole thing. I want to give them my undivided attention because it makes me mad when I want you to hear mine, And so the music director, his name was Sky. He came running down. He was like, oh my God, what song is that? Is that Faithfully? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh my God, that's like Journey's Faithfully? I'm like, yeah. So then the program director goes, huh? And he's like, oh, this is Faithfully? I'm like, yes. And they're listening to it. He goes, who is it? And I said, it's me. It is not you. Yes, it is.
Oh, wow.
Judy, that is not you. That's not Judy Torres' voice. I'm like, that's Judy Torres' voice 16 years later. Yes, it is. And I mean, I grew up and I like to think I learned something,
Of course.
And so I told him, it's not finished yet, though. I just wanted you to hear it. I just want to see if you like it. He says, well, when you finish it, give it to me. I'd love to hear it. I said, okay, fine. So I get in the elevator. I'm not even down to the lobby yet. And my phone rings. And I pick it up and it's Corey. He's like, didn't I tell you not to record that song? I was like, well, I mean, look. He's like, you did Faithfully? I'm like, well, it's not finished yet. He goes, well, when are you going to finish it? I was like, tomorrow. He's like, finish it, send it to me. I said, okay. He goes, I told you not to record. I'm sorry, Corey. I just. So I send it to him the next day. And he sends me an email that I still have. I framed it and everything. Congratulations, you got yourself a new record.
Wow,
and
that's
the next
great.
thing I know, Faithfully was playing all over the country. And it was just like, it just felt like a validation that when people tell you no, sometimes you got to believe in yourself more than other people do.
Yes,
Of
ma'am.
course,
Yes, ma'am.
stick with it. Stick with your dream because it's a dream that you have, and you're so driven that you made it. You made the dream happen, even with all the negativity. Judy, let me ask you a question. I know you work with Mickey Garcia. He's a legend in the freestyle name era. How come you never ended up on Micmac Records?
Because I was signed to Profile.
So you stood with Profile the entire time.
I was assigned to Profile, and Profile existed before Micmac Records existed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I always wanted to be on Arista Records because I was obsessed with Clive Davis, which I still am. I love the man. I think I wrote a letter to Arista when I was 10. And I told them, I'm in the Glee Club, and when I grow up, I'm going to be a singer. I hope that you'll sign me. And he wrote me back, which was classy as hell.
No way.
And he wrote me back. And I always had this dream in my head that I was going to be an Arista artist, So when we got signed, when No Reason to Cry got signed, it got signed to Jackie Jack Records. And I was like, Jackie who? and I was like, oh, well, I guess nothing's happening the way I wanted to. So, but a couple of weeks later, unfortunately, something happened, and the president of the label, I think, was arrested for something, and the label disintegrated. And next thing you know, I'm still performing it because now the song gained a lot of momentum in the clubs. And so I'm performing it, and a woman by the name of Claudia Cassetta, she was the A&R person at Profile Records. And she heard me and she believed in me. So she brought it to Corey and wanted to sign me. And Corey said, no, he didn't like the record. He didn't like me, nothing. And she kept saying, I'm telling you, I've seen this girl. The people love her. They're on her side. You got to listen to it. So finally, he agreed to sign us with the understanding one single. And if the single does well, another single. And then if that single does well, then you can have an album.
Okay.
Wow.
And that's how we got the album. So when I first heard about Profile, I didn't know about Profile Records. So I was like, Profile? Not Arista? And they were like, no, Judy, Profile. Profile's a good label. I'm like, but who's on Profile? They were like, Run DMC. I was like, oh, yeah, that's so right. I want to be on Profile. Yeah. So that's why. But by the time Mickey came up with Micmac, I was still on Profile. So,
hey, Judy, I saw the video on YouTube that you did. I believe it was for TED Talk, where you were.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were telling the story, and it touched me on so many levels, I think, because you go into the story of when you and your mom and you're taking your mom to go shopping. I mean, it was touching to me how an individual perceives themselves to be possibly not worthy of certain material items or good luck or good things, or just positive energy.
Yeah, I had given, my mom is plus size like me, and she doesn't go shopping a lot, so a lot of times she won't treat herself because she feels like she doesn't have the money. So I got her a Lane Bryant credit card. I'm like, Mom, look, this is your card. Anytime you need it, use it for whatever you want. Just go in the store and get whatever you want. No limit. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Okay. And then it was like 9 months later, she hadn't used it. So I was like, okay, I'll take you. Come on, let's go. And you're going to use the card. So we go in the store and she goes straight to the clearance section. And there's nothing wrong with shopping in the clearance section. I want everyone to understand that. There's never anything wrong with getting yourself a good deal. The issue is that every time I take her shopping, she goes to the clearance section. Mm. And so she was getting tired and she was like, Mommy, let's just go. Like, she didn't want to buy anything. I'm like, Mom, what, let me ask you a question. So we're sitting down. I said, why do you always shop on clearance, Mom? She's like, no, because, I'm like, Mom, I don't know if anybody ever told you this, but you are not on clearance, Mom. And she started bawling, and I started bawling. Yeah. And I realized that she believes something inside her doesn't believe herself worthy to get the new items. She's got to get the stuff that's getting ready to, the stuff that's unwanted. Right. And so I decided when I was asked to do the TEDx talk, which I was thrilled for, which is a big deal. I decided that was going to be my focus. You are not on clearance. And I was going to talk about not just valuing yourself, but also what the difference is between clearance behavior and luxury behavior. Because you're supposed to be a luxury human being on display for the world to see. That's right. Not in the back hidden,
That's
so
beautiful.
Thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me. I wish more people watched it because I thought in my mind, it's going to blow up and they're going to ask me to do it again. But nothing.
I remember I was doing something and I had it on my Bluetooth speaker and then I had to stop what I was doing because it touched me. I was like, man, she's spitting that gem right now. I was like, wow, this is really, really deep.
Judy, I want to say that I know that must have felt really good for you to do for your mom, who's probably, she's probably looking out for your pocket and that she didn't want to spend your money, even though you have it and you want to give it to her. I'm a Puerto Rican person myself, like yourself. And I feel like in our culture, in many cultures too, I know Architect is Salvadorian, but I feel like, Lisette and Brenda, they all had similar stories. When I started making money, I was able to buy my mom a Mercedes because she was driving an 88 Corolla for 20 years. Nice. And that was a prideful moment for me. And she didn't want to take it. She didn't want to take my money. And I was like, Ma, you need a car. You need a car with AC. You're in Arizona. It's 120 degrees. Exactly. You need a car with AC. Like, come on, let me do this to make myself feel better. But you know what? You make us Latinos and Boricuas very proud, man. That's a great, beautiful story.
Well, you should know, too, my father's Cuban.
Oh, yeah, Cuba.
So I'm Cuban and Puerto Rican, yes.
There you go. You're half perfect. No, I'm just kidding. No.
I tell you, hey, Judy, this is what I got to put up with.
I'm just kidding.
That's not so bad. It's not so bad. Oh, by the way, I have a podcast too.
Oh, really? Yeah, shoot.
Yes, I don't know if you know that. It's called Beautiful Life with Judy Torres.
Okay.
Nice.
And so far I don't have no 72 episodes. I got 12 right now, 13. So we're going to put another one on Mondays. That's going to be 14. So I have some work to do, but.
Do your thing,
that's
man.
awesome.
Good for you.
I'm going to subscribe when we get off. Definitely.
Thank you. It's number 2 in the mental wellness category on Podomatic, which is cool. But it's on iTunes and all the other media outlets that you listen to podcasts with.
All right.
Yeah.
And Judy, one more question. A young artist comes out to you in the street and he or she asks you, can you give me one piece of solid advice to help me get in this music industry? What do you tell them?
Know who you are. Know who you are as an artist before you start trying to get people to sign you or work with you. Because if you don't know who you are as an artist, other people will try to tell you who you are.
There you go.
And you'll end up being a slave to an image that's really not who you are.
And that's what Chrissy Aisi said. Chrissy Aisi said the same thing. She said exactly what you said.
You have to know who you are. I mean, I could spend an hour on giving advice, but that's the most important thing, because when you know who you are, you won't work with the wrong people. When you know who you are, you won't hang out with anything that it influences you in a negative way.
That's right.
When you know who you are, you'll know what you stand for, and it just makes you a stronger artist. Because there are certain artists out there, when you hear their name, you automatically think of certain words, certain things come to your head. When you say Alicia Keys, bam, you know who she is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know. Well, you know what she represents. When you say Pink, you get it, you know? So you should know who you are as an artist. What is your vision? What is your intention? What is it that you want to put out there that the world is going to see that no one else has? Where are you unique? How are you unique? And how do you make that statement so people get it? I think that's important.
There you go. And Judy, closing off, tell the listeners where they can go ahead and contact you on social media. Where can they purchase your music? Put that on blast.
Well, you can follow me at Judy Torres Music on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also hire me as a life coach at judytorreslifecoach.com. And you could check out my podcast. And the podcast is Beautiful Life with Judy Torres.
All right. DJ Don Q, do you have anything else for Miss Judy Torres before we take off?
I would have liked to keep Judy Torres on for another 3 hours, but I know she's very, very busy. But I want to thank her for for taking time out of her busy schedule because, we are DJs, but we are also fans. And a lot of this information that you have given to all of your fans is really cool because now we could add a little extra piece to your music. A little extra story that, when you were recording that song, there was Mr. Softy in the background. Like, nobody would have ever known that because it was so seamless. It was so seamless, man. It was just a thing of beauty, But these little things I cherish, And as a fan, I want to thank you for bringing our freestyle music to a real high level. You know what I mean? Because you're one of the real big pioneers.
Thank you very much.
You're a real big pioneer. And this has been kind of a dream come true for me. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the honor of speaking with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Judy Torres, once again, thank you so much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of myself and DJ Don Q, this has been Chapter 72 with the great...
Wait, Architect.
72!
Architect,
72!
hold on. Wait, since this is 72, shouldn't we get like a or there's no reason for... Should we get like a little 2-second thing from her? Oh, I got the chills, kid, right there. Got the chills.
Awesome. Judy, once again, thank you so much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Chapter 72 with the great Judy Torres,
Thank
DJ
you.
Architect, and DJ Don Q. We are out. Peace, guys.
Peace.
Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
DJ Architect.